What is going on, you guys? Welcome to the script. I'm your host, Isaac Paul. As always, we're going to have a very good show. Welcome. Where do we begin? I always like to begin with just a quick introduction of what the script is. The script is the digital counterpart to the Tequila Tales. What is the Tequila Tales? The Tequila Tales is a highly engaging and fully interactive discussion on love and relationships. What we are not is a panel discussion, and we're going to kind of dig into that a little more you know, from a greater detail perspective, because this particular show, what I want to do is I want to take you inside of a typical exchange inside of the Tequila Tale so that you can understand what it is that makes us so unique, right? Like I said, no shade to panel discussions, but with panels, typically you come to watch the experts or watch the celebrities or watch whoever kind of share their thoughts and let you know how they feel about a wide array of topics. With the Tequila Tales, our motto is with love, we all have a story to share. And so my goal is to get those authentic stories, those authentic exchanges from the very attendees of our live shows. Okay, so with that being said, man, I wanted to walk you all through one of the exchanges from our most recent show. But before we do that, I want to give a special shout out to one of our collaborators for this particular show, which is blackdoctor.org. For those of you all that are not familiar with blackdoctor.org, they are an organization that their primary goal is to, it's really all about aligning individuals with healthcare practitioners and people of color, right? How often do we find ourselves in situations where, you may be looking for a healthcare professional, and sometimes it's just hard to find someone that maybe shares a similar cultural experience, that may understand some of the subtle nuances of what it means to be a person of color. It's not necessarily saying that a person that's not a person of color cannot, render you 100%, adequate healthcare. But what it is saying is that there are often times that people feel misunderstood, right? Especially if you're trying to explain something that is very specific to, your cultural upbringing. And so with the organization of blackdoctor.org's major goal is it's a network that attempts to align people with healthcare practitioners that are people of color, right? And that's whether it be mental, physical, spiritual, the whole nine. So if you're not familiar with blackdoctor.org, I definitely, look them up and, kind of keep them as something that you just keep in your back pocket, right? You never know when you may need it. And, I think that as we move forward, we're really starting to tap into the importance of what it means to be healthy, right? And that our health is our wealth. And so I think it's one of those things that sometimes we don't think about our health until something is going wrong. And to be very honest, at that point, I'm not saying it's too late, but at that point, whatever the issue is, it's already been exacerbated. Sometimes what's important is like effective healthcare. To me, it's being preventative, right? It's understanding how to maintain proper health. And so sometimes that is, regular checkups, whether it be with a therapist, if you need, one of the things that we as people of color are starting to really understand the importance of is, the importance of our mental health and how we cannot overlook that as it relates to just our overall, physical well-being. And then also where I come in is our emotional health, right? Even though the love doctor would not be with us today, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to step in for him. I've been really appreciating this collaborative effort between blackdoctor.org and the Tequila Tales because, I think what we've collaboratively understood is that a lot of times these relationship issues or just our emotional health is something that we oftentimes overlook as if it does not affect how we feel, physically, right? And, whether it be stress, whether it be just, enjoyment or just a whole wide array of different issues, that may occur as it relates to overlooking something that is incredibly significant, which is our emotional health, right? And so with that being said, with the script, this is the digital counterpart of the Tequila Tales. And so, from show to show, we always do something a little different, a couple of segments that we'll throw in here and there. But like I said, with one of the things that we're going to really concentrate on in this particular one is a particular exchange. And I want to get you guys feedback because, like I said, our most recent show was called Doubling Back. And, you know, great crowd. You know, I've been very, very excited. You know, this is our 11th year that we've been doing the Tequila Tales. And, you know, each show is something very special and very unique. No two shows are the same, just like no two conversations are the same, right? That's one of the reasons why I'm always throwing different things out there as it relates to the script, because it's like you never really know, you know, what a good conversation is going to yield. And so that's what I think makes it exciting being inside of these live environments. And so we're going to dig into that in a moment. But where we always like to start is, you know, just some of the ground rules. Just kind of let you guys know I am streaming through multiple platforms. So even if you are watching the script through, you know, a particular channel where you're one of few people in the room, if you make a comment, I can not only read it, but I can post it and respond to it. So, you know, I try to make this as interactive as possible. So, you know, don't hesitate to engage because, you know, I would actually like some of you all's feedback as it relates to this particular exchange. But with that being said, you know, we do introduce certain segments. And with this particular segment in the news, you know, I just like to try to hit on a couple of things that's been happening, you know, in not only social media, but just in the world at large. And so bear with me as we kind of go through some of these things. Now, one of the things that I did want to talk about, and I'm kind of curious to get you all's feedback on, and what we're going to start, you know, we're going to talk about is the Jay-Z trial, right? Or not the trial, it hasn't gone to trial, and it's not going to go to trial. But for those of y'all that are not familiar with it, just to give you all, you know, a quick little update, Jay-Z is technically currently facing serious allegations involving a civil lawsuit that accuses him and Sean Diddy Combs of sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl at an after party following a 2000 MTV Video Music Award. The accuser, referred to as Jane Doe, claims that she was drugged and raped by both of the men during the event. Jay-Z has categorically denied these allegations, describing them as a blackmail attempt. His attorney, Alex Spiro, has filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit, citing a significant inconsistencies in the accuser's account. For instance, the accuser's father does not recall picking her up from the party, a key detail in the narrative. Additionally, individuals she identified as witnesses have stated that they were not present in New York at the time. The accuser has acknowledged these inconsistencies, admitted to mistakes in her recollection of the events. Despite this, she maintains that the assault occurred. Her attorney, Busby, which that name alone just kind of feels like a snake oil salesperson. But anyway, who represents over 120 alleged victims of Combs, continues to support her claims, though he has faced criticisms from Jay-Z's legal team for allegedly filing the lawsuit without proper verification. So I'm not certain if you all are familiar with this particular story. And, you know, anytime that stories or allegations of sexual assault, rape, you know, anything of that nature, we regard that as something that is incredibly serious. And so, you know, you always want to be in a space where you keep your mind completely open to receiving the facts and not doing what we have done for many years in the past, which is, you know, immediately assume that, oh, well, you know, because you know how sometimes people can get, oh, man, he's a rich guy, you know. Why would he do that? He's got all the money in the world. Women are throwing it at him, you know. And what we've learned is that rape is often, is seldom about whether or not a person has options, and it's more about power, right? It's more about control, and it's more about power, and in some cases, deviancy. You know, some people are just exhibit a lot of deviant behavior, and it doesn't matter what they have access to. You know, if that is just what is in that person to do those types of nefarious actions, then they're going to do those actions, right? And so what we try to do is really listen to what the accuser is saying and not victim blame, right? Because sometimes we can get into that. Oh, well, what was she doing at a party at the age of 13? Which, albeit, is a very, you know, intelligent thing to ask. You know, what is a 13-year-old driving 3 to 4 hours outside of her city to get dropped off alone to go to a VMAs after party in the early 2000s. However, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. And so because of that, you always want to make certain that you're doing your due diligence and not accusing people. I mean, not just automatically dismissing something just because you're a fan of the particular celebrity, But in this particular situation, oh my goodness, like you could just kind of tell from the jump that there's a lot of inconsistencies. We'll put it like that. So ironically enough, she was interviewed. Now it was on camera, but they obviously wanted to protect her identity. And even though she was being, would you look at this? Looks like you've got company. For those of you all that don't know, my son is very active and apparently he's really into this particular story. So he just wanted to jump in and have a little bit of a say. So say hello to the people, Alex. Oh, okay. Now you ain't got nothing to say, huh? With your red mouth. But anyway, but yeah, so they were interviewing this woman, and you could just tell in everything that this woman was saying, just the inconsistency started to stack up. And while the case has not been thrown out, it really feels like it's on its way to being so. And what I'm going to be curious to find is what type of repercussions Tony Busby may face as a result of it, because it really feels like this case is crumbling right before him. And, what's fascinating about it, and this was just one of the points that I was going to bring up, was when it first came out, I was a little disappointed in seeing how many people were quick to automatically accuse Jay-Z of ultimate wrongdoing. I don't know when Jay-Z turned into this nefarious character that everyone hates. Now, do I think that Jay-Z is a saint? By no means, right? Are there some questionable things that we can potentially point to in his past where you say to yourself, like, yeah, you did kind of have a slight, there was some sketchy moments in the past. Nothing that rises to the level of rape or, sexual assault or anything like that, but just a couple of things that we could say to ourselves that doesn't necessarily feel. Oh, were you ready to? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Alex is leaving us. Say goodbye to Alex. I know. See, look at him. He doesn't like that. He was enjoying it. So yeah, I'm saying this to say that I don't believe that necessarily he's a saint, but at the same time, I was a little surprised that everybody in the comment section was so quick to just want to bury this guy, right? Like, I mean, like you just knew for a fact that he did it. And it's not just with this case, but I feel like anytime the topic of Jay-Z or Beyonce comes up, everyone wants to believe the worst about them. Either you are a fan or for whatever reason, you've just determined that any negative, article that we see in the press, there's this automatic rush to judgment and condemnation that he's guilty. And it feels like in the last 10 to 15 years, he's done nothing but attempt to kind of change what his persona has been. Like, we knew when he first came out with reasonable doubt that this was somebody that got it out of the mud. This was somebody that, openly would share that he used to sell drugs. He used to be involved in nefarious activities, because he was a product of his environment. But he took that, made something of it. And since we've known of him, he's for the most part been operating on the up and up. But it feels like the moment that he started winning and winning hard, that's when everybody turned against him. And I feel like that's something that you really see in our community a lot, and not to just jump into that like crabs in a barrel type thing. But I do find that kind of fascinating that we don't revere our celebrities and our successful people in the Black community the same way that I feel like other races and nationalities do, and not necessarily to just say that they are above reproach, because we do know that in many cases they may be involved in activities that, may put them in a considerable, position of attack, where you can say, okay, I can understand why some people are judging them. But when certain individuals haven't really given you anything, sometimes I kind of feel like there's this thing that happens with us. And hear me out, and feel free to share your thoughts on this, where it's like, We love to root for the underdog. That's one of the things that we're good at in our community, right? Like if you are being downtrodden, we are going to defend you. We're going to big up you. We're going to see to it that if you're down here on the bottom level, how can I, you know, protect you? How can I help you to get back on your feet? Like we are great with that. But then the moment that you start winning, then all of a sudden, you know, we kind of stiff arm you a little bit. Like we have a hard time celebrating you the same way that we defend you. And that is something that I think is worth uh, a broader conversation. Like, what is it about us that we are conditioned that way to resist success, you know, or to be distrustful of success? Anytime that a person is too successful, they winning too hard, they must be cheating somehow. They got to be a member of the Illuminati. You know, if you're doing something, oh man, it must have been some secret hidden ritual, some Hollywood thing that you were involved in. And it's like, you know, oh, don't let Jaguar, whatever her name is, right? Is that her name? You know that woman that every time somebody is doing something successful, boy, she got all the dirt in the world and not an ounce of evidence, you know. And you go to the comment section and it's like all of those comments are the ones at the top. Be like 10,000 people liked it. And it's like, what has this person done to you? Or what was the shred of evidence that you've seen that makes you just wholeheartedly believe that you just know for a fact that they have done something nefarious, you know? And you know, it's one thing if I get it where there's smoke, there's fire, or just our willingness to sometimes be untrustful of people in positions of power. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it has more to do with our relationship with power and the power structures in America that we've just become so distrusting of any type of authority that the moment that you get power, we align power with authority, and therefore we just don't trust it. If you broke, oh man, then everything you're doing must be righteous, right? But the moment you start winning, Illuminati, you know what I'm saying? You did the secret blood pact. And, you know, I wouldn't think that that was a bad thing, you know, if it was just playful. But the reality of it is I think that there are some of us that if we're not cautious, we can start to fear success, right? We can almost have a fear of success, an inherent fear or distrust of success that it's one thing if I just stiff arm when it came to you, but does that prevent us sometimes from moving into these spaces and developing the kind of relationships and getting more effective at the processes of what it takes to be successful, right? Like if there's this belief in your mind that everybody that's successful had to do something negative in order to get there, then how long does it take before you just stop trying? How long does it take before you start to make excuses for maybe some potentially ineptitude that maybe you're experiencing, right? And you didn't win. And instead of taking feedback and figuring out how you can kind of tweak it to make it better, immediately you just blame the system, right? Oh, okay, it's the algorithm's fault. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm being shadow banned. And it's like, okay, you weren't being shadow banned when you was winning. When you went viral, everything was cool. But now that you're not going viral anymore, the system is stacked against you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's loser talk to me, as opposed to, okay, how can I change, or can I get feedback from not only the people that are supporting me, but the people that aren't supporting me? Can I get suggestions so I can figure out how to correct my actions, right? Like it's a very dangerous state of mind, I feel, to involve yourself in when you're constantly making excuses against success, right? While secretly desiring it at the same time, you know? And so when it came to that case, man, it just, like I said, it you know, after she got interviewed by, I believe it was NBC, and they, you know, did the, did their due diligence. I think once people started to see it and started to hear it, now you kind of feel the sentiment shifting a little bit, which, you know, I was at least happy to see that. But, you know, I mean, I know that there's still damage done. You know, I don't know how many of you all saw the Jamie Foxx special. You know, he had a live comedy special on Netflix late last week. I thought it was pretty good. Share your feedback on that. A big healthy portion of it, you know, he was walking through some of the health issues that he had encountered. And, you know, one of the things that he playfully kept poking fun at was the fact that everybody just knew that, one, Did he had something to do with it? And two, that he was a clone, and that was funny. And again, this is funny stuff, but in the day and in this age of the internet that we're in right now, it's like we used to be able to dismiss this stuff as like crazy talk, right? Conspiracy theorists used to actually be it used to be cool to be a conspiracy theorist because you actually had to do research. You actually had to go out of your way to get some information. What do I mean by this? Certain people feel like they're conspiracy theorists, but really you're just caught in a wormhole of the internet. That's all that is, right? Like the algorithm saw that you like this kind of content and they kept feeding you that same kind of content. A lot of people think that they're doing research, and in reality, you're just caught inside of an echo chamber. You know what I mean? Back in the day, in order to be a conspiracy theorist, you had to actually read books. You had to actually go out and be in search of content and kind of formulate your own decision. You couldn't just watch, Tucker Carlson and whatever it was that he said, or go on Twitter and, when they realize that you like the same BS that Elon Musk is spitting out, they're like, oh, okay, we're just going to serve you more of it up. Like, nah, you're not really a conspiracy theorist. You're more of a sheep. For the same people that's calling everybody else a sheep, it's like you're calling me a sheep, but yet all the information that you get is from your limited perspective of the corner of the internet that you're, receiving your information from, right? And so it's like that to me is where it's like, yeah, nowadays, what we have is a lot of people that are, it's not just lazy, but it's almost like, I feel like there's an attack on intelligence and an attack on facts. It's easier for me to blame the bad guy than for me to actually go and do some heavy lifting and sharpen my tools and forge better relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like and that's what I mean by when I say it's lazy. You know what I mean? But again, that's just my opinion. What we got here says, well, sounds to me your mind is made up. Open mind. Right. I mean, listen, I'm not. Oh, really, son? Okay. It's like people like to see a major downfall of anyone, really, especially if they are high up in their careers. It's more salacious. We love a comeback story. I think it's part human nature, part us. Yeah, and I agree with that also. I guess, and again, not necessarily saying that this is exclusive to being Black, but because I follow a lot of different pages and I go into the comment section, I don't see this universal rush to judgment the way I do when it comes to our stars, and I don't know if it's just, it might not even be just the Black aspect. It could be hip hop. It could be that is a part of hip hop culture. Hip hop culture by nature is competitive and is combative. And so because so much of Black culture now is kind of run by hip hop, we inherently have kind of tapped into that same vein where, it's like, yeah, on one level, it's hilarious. On one level, yeah, we love going into the shade room and looking at the comment section because somebody's going to say something hilarious. But on the flip side, it's like we've also, as a society, gotten into a very mean-spirited place where instead of just kind of like consuming information, we're quick to want to condemn. We're quick to want to judge. We're quick to want to tear down. But, again, got another story that's somewhat, not necessarily in similar vein, but would be interested in getting you all's feedback on this. So Travis Hunter, the versatile cornerback and wide receiver of the University of Colorado, was awarded the 2024 Heisman Trophy on December 14, 2024. He is the second player in Colorado's history to receive this honor, following Rashaan Salam's win in 1994. Hunter's exceptional performance this season was pivotal in Colorado achieving a 9-3 record and securing a spot in the Alamo Bowl. On offense, he recorded 92 receptions for 1,152 yards and 14 touchdowns. Defensively, he contributed to 32 tackles and 4 interceptions. His ability to excel on both sides of the ball has drawn comparisons to Charles Woodson, the only primarily defensive player to win the Heisman before Hunter. So, during his award speech, it was an emotional speech at the Lincoln Center in New York. Hunter dedicated the award to his father, expressing gratitude for his unwavering support and sacrifice. He also acknowledged his grandmother's influence in inspiring his football career. Now, why do I bring this up? Because there was a bit of like a controversy, and it's crazy, right? Because when I saw it happening from the first moment, I was like, "Ooh, this is interesting. This is something that I would like to talk about," right? And over the past like 3 days, I've even watched it balloon. So just to bring you all inside and let you all see the tea. So he's in the middle of like his acceptance speech, and there's a point where he's about to step off stage and go over and give his mother a hug, his fiance a hug, and Coach Prime. So all I saw from the early stage was just him giving them a hug, but somebody else caught like a wide angle of it. And Coach Prime is standing up, and the mother then stands up, and the girlfriend is still sitting down. And so Coach Prime just kind of taps her to just let her know, like, oh, okay, it's okay to stand up, And so she stands up, she gives him a hug, he gives her a hug. And then, he goes to his mother, and then he has a very warm embrace with Coach Prime. Only thing you're hearing about on social media is people feeling like his fiance is for the streets, right? I don't know where they are getting this from. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's because, she's got the tattoos, or, there's some details about like how I think initially when he slid in her DMs, she didn't, really give him a lot of attention. She later went on to share that was because she saw that he had a girlfriend, so that she wasn't about that life, whatever. But I'm saying overwhelmingly in the comment section, people are feeling like this woman is for the streets, right? And so they're at a point where no matter what this woman does, right, it's almost like, no, she is for the streets. And the fact that I guess from the second his foot stepped off of that stage, that she didn't jump up and start clapping real loud, or I don't know what they would have needed to see to feel like this relationship is legitimate. Scratch the fact that they've been together for like 5 years, right? But they just feel like she's along for the ride. Now, okay, I get it. He's an athlete. It would be easy to say that if she just jumped on 5 months ago. But to be with this dude 5 years ago, there was no indication that he was going to be what he is right now. Like, yeah, he might have been showing a lot of promise, but all kinds of stuff can happen between there and this space that he's at right now, which is on top of the world, And, again, this goes back into what it was that I was just talking about a moment ago, like our desire constantly to tear our people down. It really does become exhausting, and what has been unfortunate is I just saw earlier today that she hopped on social media and went through this like lengthy, explanation of all the events that happened as to why she was seated until Coach Prime told her to stand up. And I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, like, first off, I hope that after she does this, she's gotten it out of her system, because if she does not, it is going to be a very dark and dreary existence for the next several years, right? Because if you feel like you have to explain yourself to the trolls on the internet every time they decide to pick you apart, it's going to be never ending. Because and I feel like once people see that they can get a rise out of you, they're going to continue to do it, right? So hopefully she can get strength in that regard, right? But my heart did kind of go out to her, just in the sense of, what is she? What, like 19 or something? 20, 21 at the most? I don't know what age she is, but it's one thing if you're like a social media influencer, or if like you're like a celebrity and you've been in the limelight for a decade and some change. But when you're new to all of this, and all you know is I love this dude and I've been with him for 5 years, to watch the internet ruthlessly tear you down, I'm like, man, like I was like, my heart goes out to her, because now you got Travis Hunter getting on his social media channels, like having to defend her, right? And visibly upset, because it's like, yo, this is my future wife, and I gotta watch y'all tear her down. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, well, that's just the internet, and they're very nonchalant about it. And it's like, people say that until you turn that spotlight on them and start tearing them a new asshole. right? Until you go to their social media page and start talking about how funny they look, right? And how funny looking their kids or their mama is. Like, then all of a sudden they want to pull up. Then all of a sudden words matter. Words don't matter when they're trolling you behind the confidence of, their social media account. But then when you turn that on them and you start lighting their asses up, now all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like, you got a problem, right? So, again, heart goes out to them, man. I hope that they are able to navigate their way through this. Because it would be very unfortunate if this causes her mental health issues, and as a result, it affects their relationship. Like, I mean, literally, I kid you not. Look, go to any post, and like dudes are typing whole ass paragraphs, like warning this brother. I want to warn the young brother. Warn him for what? Bro, worry about your non-existent relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you worried about who he's sleeping with, who he loves? You know what I'm saying? But see, I also know what it is also, though, right? And it's this convenient space that we've gotten into, man, where we like to tear women down, and specifically Black women. You know what I mean? Like, would they have felt this way if she was like a Kardashian type? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just we're in this space now. There are some times where we know these women are hunting after these particular players, and I'm pretty certain the fact that he was, a 6-foot+ athlete, wasn't exactly non-attractive to her, right? But to feel like she's faking it for 5 years with this dude just because, I don't know, man. It just that feels awfully convenient. It's easy to put everybody in our little simple boxes and believe that they all fit this narrative, and so, like I said, man, it's unfortunate, but again, that's just one of those things that I just see in us that we have a tendency to do, that I'm like, man, this should be having us in a chokehold. But that being said, now I want to go inside the event, because I've got a couple of clips, right? So there's this, and what we're gonna do with this is, because some of these clips, like, you're going to actually see the exchange. So there's going to be a couple of comments that you'll see inside of these clips. And, as you're watching it, be sure to share your feedback, right? If you agree with something that someone says, go ahead and type it in. I'll go ahead and I'll post it. And like I said, we'll take little breaks in between, because I am curious to get you all's feedback, because this was the final question that I asked at our most recent Tequila Tales. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and start with this.
I'd like to know, what is the most ridiculous, over-the-top romantic gesture you've ever made or received, right? What is the most ridiculous, over-the-top romantic gesture that you've either made or received?
I had one. I was younger, and the guy was older. Let's say he was about 15 years older than me, and we were out at like a medium dinner. Like, it wasn't fancy. It was like a medium dinner, right? And not quite Applebee's, elevated from Applebee's. And he had been to the place before or whatnot, and he's like, so the waiter comes over and he just orders for didn't ask me what I like, what I was allergic to, what protein I would like, do I like rice, do I want noodles, right? Like, all these things. And he just ordered for the table. I'm talking about appetizer, what comes next? Entree and dessert. The man just ordered like the whole thing, and he thought it was just like the most romantic thing ever. And I'm just like, sir, like, I have a voice, I have a choice, and I don't want nothing that you just ordered for me. Can the gentlemen in the room raise their hands for the when they've ordered for ladies? Ordered food.
That's a good one.
High.
That's a good one.
High. Raise them high so we can count them.
Right. That's actually kind of interesting. The gentlemen in the room that have ordered for ladies before, show a hand.
Without asking.
Without asking what they like?
Knowing.
Okay, all right.
Asking and knowing. And was it an aphrodisiac or not? Because it depends on which way you ordered.
Here we go.
It may have been a blocker.
So we got a brother right here.
Okay, so I'm just curious, right? If you're watching this, I want to know if you're a woman, have you ever had someone just order for you, right? Like that. That's actually a pretty good question. I am curious to know if you've ever found yourself in a situation where someone just decided to order for you, and or if you haven't, or if you're a man, have you ever ordered for someone else? Like not asking them, oh, what was it that you were like? Just kind of took the reins, ran point on it. Did you do it? If it's never happened to you, then the question I would like to know is, how would you feel about that? How would you feel if someone just ordered for you at a restaurant? Like, would you consider that to be like over the top? Or would you consider that to be like, okay, all right, I see how you move. And I appreciate the fact that were kind of a take charge type of individual. So I'm curious to get that. Go ahead and share your thoughts inside the comment section.
We got a brother right here that proudly raised his hand because he felt like, oh no, not only does it felt like he do it often, but we'll see.
And I don't drink apple tea.
I wouldn't say that I do it often, but at the end of the day, I am a conscious eater, so I don't eat meat or seafood or anything with a mother. So at the end of the day, if I'm ordering for a woman, that means I want to enjoy you. Women got to understand what you eat. That dictates how a man going to enjoy you. You want to really keep it P. Let's go deep. Y'all really want to get deep with this thing? Because we can.
We do.
If you eating seafood, you eating all this, all that, baby girl, I can't really enjoy you the way that I need to enjoy you. Let's keep it P. Let's keep it real. So what you eat is how a man going to enjoy you. I'm just being honest with you. So when I order for a woman, I know I want her to eat fruits, vegetables. I want to eat, sea moss. I want her to really, come on now, because I really want to enjoy you, baby. I really want to enjoy you. Come on. Let's keep it real.
But if you're at Lolo's,
My man said nothing but pineapples. I hope you like pineapples because that's all you getting tonight. God damn it. Hey, I appreciate that. Shit, that was all right. Hey, damn, that was. Hey, you know what? I wasn't ready.
Anytime that you have these types of discussions, you never know who's in the room. You never know what's going to get said. And that's what's always fun about it, right? Like, so I said, this was the last question. So at this point, everybody's been sipping. They've had their libations and they're in a very comfortable space, right? And so with that particular gentleman, he was being very transparent. And the fact that his belief was that, I guess he's a vegan. And he's talking about the fact that certain foods that a person eats, that you can tell, right? They from what he's saying, you can taste it. Okay, whether or not you're able to read between the lines. I probably should have given you all a heads up that this is a adult conversation that we were having, right? So the conversation can go into a space where we're just going to be honest. And so while that was not the response that I was anticipating, he put something interesting on the table. But from that point forward, it did broaden the conversation, because we were talking about kind of like ridiculous, over the top gestures that sometimes people can make. And it was just one of those playful questions that we end on. So, I was inviting everybody to look back into their past and to think about old relationships and just some of our experiences, because we've all done that in times past. Like, I don't know as we mature if we're still quite as bold as we once were, but I think that definitely when we were younger. Actually, to be honest with you, people may still be just as bold, because I think with the advent of social media, we are in a very performative state. And so people do like to perform a lot of times nowadays, right? Like where they are doing things because they're more thinking about how it's going to play out online. So I do know that there is a segment of society that's like really into that, right? That's like really into how assertive can I be? And how grandiose can this gesture be? But it's really more about how this is going to track online, more so than a desire to elicit a response from the intended target. See, back in my day, I would do bold moves, but the bold move was more about my desire to make an impression, right? Like if I knew, okay, maybe we've been getting to know one another and everything, and I'm kind of somewhat in this friend zone, not necessarily in a bad way, but just I haven't flipped the switch yet. And so in order to flip the switch, because we've talked about this in times past. I talked about it last week, okay, when I was talking about the friend zone and how the friend zone isn't necessarily a bad thing. A lot of times people think that the friend zone is a bad thing because they feel like you go into the friend zone, you get banished into the friend zone so that because there was nothing else, because they just weren't interested in you. And so that was kind of like the domain that you get banished into, where you ultimately end up having to pay for dinners, and just buying drinks relentlessly. And there's never an opportunity that you all may actually move forward, right? I think that's one way. Then there's the friend zone where it's like you're actually getting to know one another, right? And if you're getting to know one another, then sometimes it's like, okay, if you decided that, okay, now we're going to navigate our way outside of the friend zone. To me, the dramatic overture was one way that if you wanted to just kind of like disrupt the energy, that was the way that you would disrupt the energy, right? So my bold move was really about more like, okay, I want you to see me in a different light than the space that we had been, occupying before. But the flip side of that, is like I said, like the social media thing, and then just some people are just bold, period, right? Like Sagittarians, they always doing something bold. Every time I know a Sagittarian, man, they are always doing something hella bold, kind of like to shock you. Geminis too, from my experience. Both of those signs like to do things that just make you go like, okay, where the hell did that come from, right? And so I always find that to be a little bit comical, but that was where the conversation began, right? So then, now, again, you all, heads up, you can just give you all a little warning. Language, you're gonna hear some explicit language because this is an adult conversation. So, I understand it if you need to tap out.
I agree with my dude. Here's the thing. When you pay attention to your woman, you listen to all the things she likes, all the things she wants. So if you go to a restaurant and order what she wants, it's because you paying attention. Oh, this is the first date shit? Oh, well, nigga, I'm done. I ain't got shit to say. Fuck all that. I thought it was like a relationship type thing. First date? First date? The very first time? What nigga knows you at the very first fucking time? I'm done.
Now, wait, hold on. To be clear though, and we gonna keep it P, and tell the truth. If he nailed it, that shit would have been sexy, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Like
So
to
it's
the
a
letter.
risk. It's
To
a
the
risk.
letter.
And that is what every bold move is because see, I think also what women gotta understand is that from a man's perspective, we're so accustomed to having to run point, and even knowing that sometimes like women get tired of making all the decisions. I remember even Casey was talking about, like, especially if you're like a high earner or the A type, you're so busy making decisions throughout the day that sometimes I don't want to have to make decisions. I want to be able to be with the man that allows me to be able to just be in my soft place. Ain't that what women say? I want to be in my soft place. So let me go ahead and order for you.
Soft girl era.
So I'm gonna go ahead and order for you. And if you nail it, you are that much closer to the coochie. That's all I'm gonna say. If he nails it, that's gonna do something. So
Points were made.
You're right. We do like when you make decisions, like what restaurant you are going to take us to, not what we're actually going to eat or drink when we get to the. So the decision making is, hey, I think tonight we should go to Papados. I know that's one of your favorite places. And once she's there, then she now gets to decide what is going to be best for her to put in her mouth, but not you deciding what she eats and drinks. So choose the restaurant, not what the lady decides to consume for the evening.
Now, I'll just say on top of that, what if it were a restaurant that she's never experienced before, and so she doesn't know anything about the menu, right? So then in that case, maybe you should, like, all right, do you trust me to order? So you say no, you don't trust me to order?
She don't trust you at any restaurant.
I don't trust you to order because I don't like sauce on my food. I like my stuff real dry, prepared a certain way. So no. But it's a matter of you. If you ask and say, hey, do you trust me to order? I know I kind of have a good idea of what it is that you like and don't like. You are now asking for consent to do that. But just to decide that when the waiter comes for the table, I'm going to decide what you eat and drink tonight because I can make a decision for you that's better than the decision you can make for what you put in your own body. That is what that communicates to a woman. So just giving her the ability to choose for herself will get you further than doing that.
Yeah. I have a comment up on the stage, but so I love the idea, I think, of you kind of, ordering and you have it's a really nice gesture, I think. But as somebody who is allergic to bubbles, like champagne sounds classy and like, oh, she's going to love this if I order a bottle of champagne, but it instantly gives me a headache. So it sucks that I can't participate in anything bubble related, but unfortunately that's the reality.
But
so
if you like me and you thought I was fine, I'm going to need you to pretend. Okay?
Boy, bye. I have a comment over here. I can't do it.
Yeah. So once again, everybody here is different. So hopefully y'all hear this with an open heart. Like, who's to say you even worth dinner? So what I'm saying is, let me invest in you and take this time to get to know you, what you like before I even invite you to dinner. Because I might not even invite you to dinner. I might invite you for a walk, coffee, tea. You see what I'm saying? Who said we going to dinner on the first date? Who says you worthy of a first date? So I'm going to find all your allergies out, what you like, just do simple conversation. And I'm going to listen to you. You're going to tell me if you got something worth to talk about. And I'm going to pay attention to that. So if you get to the chance to have dinner with me, everybody here different. Everybody here different. Everybody might hear like, oh, he think he the whatever. No. What I'm saying is I'm worthy too. I'm worthy too. I know my worth too. So if I do want to invite you out to dinner, I've heard some allergies, I've heard some things you like or whatever the case may be. And I might want to cook it for you before I even take your ass out.
Uh-oh. You got some pushback on that.
I like the cooking.
Cooking? No. The only reason you got pushback because I know cooking too soon mean that they done came over to the crib, and so I know there's a little bit of hesitation when you cook
Yeah,
too,
no, we're
too
not doing
soon.
that, but I like that.
Got a comment right here.
Okay. I hear what all y'all saying about ordering for a woman and how do you know what I like? But how many of y'all have put something in front of a man's face and be like, here, eat this. Here, taste this. Eat, drink this. I don't see what's the difference between that. Because sometimes I ain't in the mood for some cold, uncooked shit. So it's like, I don't want to eat this right now. So I don't see a difference between that and ordering for somebody.
So wait, I'm sorry, Kofi. Say that again. You don't see the difference between, tasting food from...
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You forcing me to... No, it's not... Well, you talking about a bite in the middle. And then my thing was, did he pay? If he paid, then what's the problem?
Okay. I have a comment over here.
He said, did he pay? Because if he paid, then that's something else we talk about. Oh, I got a comment right here.
And then I got one over here.
Oh, you forgot? Okay.
I feel like, are we going by like... Are y'all going by like just like taking someone to dinner, a nice restaurant, or are you going by like, let's be real, if I'm planning something, because women can plan dates too, like if I plan an activity, best believe we're gonna go get something to eat. We're gonna go get something to eat. I'm not gonna order for you, but we gonna eat. Like it's not about, am I gonna take you to dinner? Am I gonna cook for you? Like, okay, what if I approach you, I'm planning this, so we're gonna do what I wanna do. I'm gonna give you recommendations, and we're gonna vibe or not. You know, like everyone's like, am I taking you to do this or whatever the case may be? Like we're here. Like so I don't know. He said taking you on a long walk, I might not feed you. We probably won't date again. I probably won't go out with you again. Like this nigga don't eat. Come on.
I got a comment over
The
here.
food ain't a part of it, man. It might not be a part two.
Yeah, so no, and obviously there's one more comment on that particular exchange, but I just found that to be so interesting, right? Because I mean, obviously, like nobody wants to pull up and have someone order something for you and you absolutely don't like it. But kind of like I was saying inside of the video, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm playing devil's advocate, and then there's other times I'm actually being dead ass serious, you know, as it relates to is it a bold move? Without question, right? But like, what if he nails it? What if he nails it? You know, what if he goes up in there and he orders the most expensive shit on the menu? You know what I mean? And it was the stuff you were already eyeing, but you were thinking like, nah, I don't want to do his pockets like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you understand first, second, third date etiquette a little bit, you know. And whether or not it's absolutely the first date. I mean, is it bold? Yes. Bold to the point of like it's bold and risky. Because if you don't nail it, then you completely strike out. Okay, like you, and it is a touch controlling. So I understand that, right? But that is also what's fun about these particular rooms. Sometimes is that you get an opportunity to see the cross section of how different people are, right? Like there was a question that I asked early on when I was talking about because, like I said, like this particular topic it's called doubling back. So it's kind of like a hearkening to things in the past and how sometimes we have a tendency to romanticize things from the past, and really kind of putting that up against things currently and just kind of seeing how they balance against one another. Like, what are some of the things from the past that we want to bring back? What are some of the things from the past that we're like, yo, I'm glad that we no longer do that, you know, because I do think that there's this tendency that sometimes we have to romanticize things from yesteryear. And it's wild because even as I mature, I'm like, damn, I'm becoming that old dude, right? Like, even as it relates to music and shit, I promise you, I thought I was never going to be that person because I do try to stay current. And so there are a lot of new artists that I like, but there's some music where I just feel like, yo, this is short bus music. This is shit for people that got low IQs. And by low IQs, I mean like, you know, I don't want to say it, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like that word that we don't use no more, but that, you know what I'm saying? You know what it means? Like, yo, that's how I see things a lot of times now. I'm like, yo, and so, you know, you hate to be that dude, but I'm like, I have literally turned into my parents where I'm talking about, you know, how, man, music today ain't how it used to be and you know, but there are areas where I do recognize the value, where I do recognize how we have enhanced, you know what I'm saying? We have improved upon certain things. And so when we get into this space of just like our emotional world, you know, one of the things that guys say, because I asked about, well, what's one of the things that's better today than in the past? And a gentleman grabbed the microphone and he surprised me. What he said was the fact that men are more vocal and they are more open with expressing their emotions. And so I was surprised to hear that from him. You know what I'm saying? And not just him specifically, but that it was a guy that shared that and that felt confident in saying that in a very balanced room. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, I appreciate that. And then there was another gentleman, you know, an older brother that was talking about, you know, how we're in a space now where men are starting to feel more comfortable expressing their emotions and expressing how they feel inside of this space, you know, and that he does think that overall that is a good thing. And he was like, you know, it can be a little jarring for women, you know, so it's going to take some time to kind of adjust and to balance it out. But he was just saying like, man, overall, he thinks that it's a good thing. And I told him, listen, I concur, you know, but that is something that we've spoken about several times in past events, is that I can recall back in like the 90s, 2000s, you know what I'm saying, like early 2000s, where this was during that period where it kind of felt like all of the women's magazines were really heavily, you know, big on like telling women how men think, right? Like all of these indications of, you know, what our actions meant. And so it was basically women telling women about the thoughts of men. And so back then it always felt like that was a desire, that women wanted to get inside the mind of men. They felt like there was so much that they just didn't know, so much that we were holding back, so much that was beneath the surface. Then with the advent of social media, we were a little hesitant. But boy, somewhere shortly around either right before COVID or right when COVID hit is when you started really seeing, this aggressive push of these male voices. And now what people are saying is take their microphones away. Every dude got a podcast. And what we need is to start making this podcasting equipment more expensive, And so I get it that it's people joking and the whole nine, but I always do find that interesting because it's like, okay, is this something that you really want? Or was it just that what you desired was to hear what you wanted to hear, right? Like that's really what you wanted. You wanted to hear what you wanted to hear. You didn't want to hear how men thought. What you wanted was for them to say what it was that you was already thinking, right? And that's something different, But now, man, these microphones, man, they hot. The mic is hot, and these dudes are talking, okay? And so now we're in this new space where it's like, we're just trying to kind of navigate our way through this. I do think that ultimately it is good that men are being more open and that they are being more transparent, I think that the pendulum always swings, and that's actually how balance is created. We think balance operates like a scale, and I think it's more like a pendulum where it will swing far to one side and the counterbalance itself swings far to the other side, right? And so you'll get these periods in society where you'll just notice a very dramatic pushback. That's kind of like what the Trump situation is. He is he is the embodiment and a direct repudiation of the Obama years, right? And people want to blame Obama like Obama was just out here on some nefarious shit. And no, it was just a Black, highly intelligent, successful, capable, competent man. And that enraged a certain sector of society where they was just like, oh no, I need to see the opposite of that in order to feel comfortable, right? And so then that's why immediately after that, you got something that was completely the opposite. And we're still reeling from that. We're still reeling from the effects of not necessarily what Obama did. It wasn't his policies. It was purely his presence. Seeing him as your commander in chief and knowing that he was the HNIC did not sit well with a lot of people, right? And so now the universe, or you want to call it that, to counterbalance, we had to swing far to the other side. And so that's why sometimes it feels like, you take a couple of steps forward and you take a few steps back. You know what I'm saying? You take a couple of steps forward and you take a few steps back. But in reality, I think what that is that's just like the pendulum. It's swinging back and forth. It's attempting to balance by, oh, okay, men ain't talking at all. Let's do the counterbalance. Now, maybe they talking a little too much. You know what I'm saying? And so what you'll start to see is it'll slowly start to come back, into this space again. And, like I said, hopefully we can get to a space where men and women can be friends again. But this was the final comment of the evening that I thought was fun, but she said something that I thought was also rather intriguing.
Moment when you said that we ask you to eat, at that point, we've already done the dating and all of that. We're not asking you to eat at the first date. That conversation was regarding the first date. And also, if I'm on a date with you, as a woman, I'm also assessing whether you're worth getting inside me, because that's what you want to do, right? You're trying to see if you can get inside me, so are you worth getting inside me? You see what I'm saying? And it could be disappointing, right? It could be disappointing. It could be, I don't know, y'all have STDs and stuff. I know we carry that too, but I'm just saying it's 50-50 is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is if you count, listen, you guys have watched reality shows and you see the body counts that guys admit they have. I've seen hundreds of women. I've seen 50 women. You're shoving your dicks in women left and right. I would like to know if you are worth getting inside me if we're on a date. So that's what you see what I'm saying? And also, I think to the conversation earlier about ordering for me, I don't think it's that deep. What I actually care about is, can I say no? You know, that's what I care about. You can order for me if you want, but if I don't feel like eating seafood right now, or if I don't feel like eating vegetables, can I say no? And if I say no, how will you react? That's really what I care about.
Right?
That's it.
Damn, that was. I like how she just went. Okay, but let me just share an observation. Because when she said, I know you want to, get inside me, many of us have never heard that, like, it being said that way before.
It's such a
All the
lovely
gentlemen
accent.
on stage was like, hell yeah. But then the moment that she was like, you can have STDs, they was like, oh, wait a minute, what you looking over here for? You know what I'm saying? Look over there when you say that shit. All of a sudden, they didn't like that energy no more. They was feeling it at first. But no, straight up. So with that being said, listen, you guys, this was our final Tequila Tales of 2024, right? But this is not the final Tequila Tales period, right? Like, we are literally just getting started, and it has been such an incredible journey thus far for so many reasons, right?
I really appreciated what it was that she was saying in that period, as it relates to, like, what if I say no? Again, so many brilliant people, man, that comes out to these shows, right? Like, and that is, that's what I mean by when I say it's not a panel discussion, because we're acting like you don't have input and you don't have value and you don't have a voice that could benefit the room, right? Like, we're in a day and age where it's all about influencer culture. So everything is being run by people who really just want attention. And in their desire to get more attention, they're also trying to tell you what to think, not how to think, but what to think. And that to me is dangerous. I feel like that's one of the issues that we're encountering with the news. The moment that the news shifted to the 24-hour news cycle, they had to figure out something to fill the dead space, and instead of just giving you more news so that you can think critically and make your own assessment, they started putting these figures up, right? And they started giving us all these pundits. And yeah, for early on, it was theater and it was mildly entertaining. But what ended up happening is we started outsourcing our own capacity to think critically, right? So now people aren't thinking anymore. They're outsourcing that. Well, what does Tucker Carlson think? What does Joe Rogan think, right? What does my favorite influencer think? You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like, oh, well, if Rachel Maddow say that, then that's how I guess I'm supposed to think. You know what I mean? As opposed to presenting the information and you figuring it out on your own. Well, how do you feel about this? Like, it's amazing to me sometimes, like, some of the people, we talked about this last week, where, it was the woman who was talking about how her father is who she goes to get advice about men. And that's when she knew that she found her husband because of her father's assessment that, man, it seems like a good guy. And, I see it from two ends of the spectrum. On one end, I'm like, okay, that's great that you've got that kind of relationship with your father, that you have a community of individuals whose thinking, the way that they assess things, you believe in and you think has value. Because I do think that there are times where we need a second opinion. There are times where we need to kind of check ourselves, and we need someone that can think about a situation objectively, not subjectively because they're not in it, but objectively. So I did think that overall that was a benefit. But just like I said last week, one of the issues that I find with that, however, is that your father ain't got to live with this dude. Your father ain't sleeping with this man. Your father isn't going to have to figure out how to work through the rough spots and determine whether or not it's worth it, right? So ultimately, what we need to be trying to figure out and seeking to define is, how do you feel about this situation? And that is one of the things about Tequila Tales that to me is the greatest takeaway. I don't know if people have really tapped into what the true value of this brand is, which is I'm listening to a lot of different frames of thinking. I'm listening to a lot of different walks of life, right? They're not the enemy. They say it in this room, it's real. This ain't some social media. I'm just typing it to rage bait you, or because I'm getting, Facebook is paying me for traction and I'm saying anything so that you all can engage. No, that's not what happens in this room, because you can say some funny shit and I might post it on social media and it might go viral. And now you got 18-year-olds on TikTok talking shit about you. I warn people about that, right? Like, this ain't the room that you want to do that in. Like, everybody want to go viral until them 18-year-olds are being relentless. You know what I'm saying? So say it with your chest, but mean it, because the room is going to hold you honest about whatever it is that you say, right? And the justice is swift inside the room. This ain't even about just what social media is going to say. You got to get up out of here. You know what I mean? So if you talking stuff about certain people, they can respond right there. And so that's what I love about the platform, is we get an opportunity to get people's truth, to get their authentic, honest to God reactions, not something that's scripted. You're not sitting there reading a teleprompter. This isn't like when I see the person taking a selfie and they done took 12 of them, and then I see them looking through all of them, and then they delete them all and they take 12 more, right? It's like, no, this is, you get one time on this microphone. You say some shit that you didn't mean, it might have some consequences, because this room is going to hold you honest, right? And we need to get back to that. We need to find our authentic, genuine selves, because y'all, we are living in a world of virtual reality and artificial intelligence, and it is growing at an alarming rate, right? Like, to the point where we are having to question if the video that we saw is actually real or if it's a fake, because they've got the AI that maybe sometimes we have access to, and then they got that other stuff where it is really fucking sophisticated. You know what I mean? And they can put something in front of you. They can clone a voice. They can do whatever. So like, reality becomes much more difficult to get a hold on as we move forward, right? And so it's like, being in this room, to me, it's the equivalent of you touching grass. It's the equivalent of you knowing honestly, okay, this is how some people honestly feel. They're not just saying this for this room. It'd be funny, because the social media types that always like to get attention and stuff, they never grab that microphone in that room. It's the people that came in the room and that said, I'm just going to come and I'm going to listen. I ain't even going to say nothing. And what you end up realizing is that, the conversation is actually very good. And I got some thoughts on this, and so I love it when someone can share something that forces my mind to stretch, that forces me to see something differently than how I may have viewed it initially, and that's why I love the way that I think that she kind of closed it out when she was just like, it's not a question of whether or not you ordered. It's a question of, can I say no? I was like, that's a mic drop right there. I could have kept going for another 15, 20 minutes, but I was like, nah, I kind of like that. I kind of like the way that she ended it, right? Like, one, she had that sexy ass African accent. There's a couple of accents that is just dope. To me, I like British accents and African accents. I got to figure out which region of Africa. I don't want to just say Africa, because I know some of them might be like, no, I don't like that shit. No, let me stop. I'm being playful. But no, I did like her her accent. I thought it was very eloquent, very elegant. And when she said, how was it that she said that, whether or not are you worth being inside me? I was like, ooh, you know what I mean? And you saw all the dudes on the stage, they was like, and somebody was like, challenge, so I thought it was kind of, funny off the top. But what she did say in the follow-up was real. Like, I don't mind you doing something, taking a shot from the half court, but can I say no? Right? And how do you react from that? If you were to call out something, and like Casey said, you ordered some expensive bottle of champagne, can't you say nah? Because, champagne gives me a headache and I ain't gonna be no good. Like, how do you then respond to, pushback? And everybody's not good with that, because maybe you had this perfect date planned, and then the moment that, kind of like that movie Hitch, where when he was with Eva Mendes, he kept trying to do all of this fancy stuff, and it kind of felt like every time he was doing something fancy, it kept going haywire. Like, okay, how do you handle that? Like, is this a blow to your ego? What if I'm not impressed by the things that you're impressed with? Because see, that's also another thing, right? Like, I go, look, buy up the whole left side of the menu. You know what I'm saying? And then let me stop. I don't know if you remember that. Oh, what comedian was that? Was that Robin Williams, when he was like, man, you do know that that's the fucking side of the menu or something like that. I can't remember, but it was just hilarious. But nonetheless, like, do whatever it is that you think is going to impress me. Can you accept that the same things that impress you don't necessarily impress me? Right? Like how flexible, how fluid are you? And so I do think that that's something that becomes important, because there are times where people, they do a thing that they think has value because that's a part of their love language. And when other people don't respond to it, you can almost notice that visceral response, that visceral pushback that they'll give. And it's really just because they were never really doing it for you, right? Like, the goal was never to really make you feel good. It was more about their own internal ego gratification, right? Like, so I did this thing because I wanted to feel like the big guy, and I wanted to be that dude, and not really because I cared about how you felt about it, And so in those moments, you do have to use those situations and those circumstances as like little clues, to be able to help you determine whether or not this is a person that, you can go the distance with, or is this a person that's worth you investing more time with, and I do hope that whether you're a woman or a man inside of this space, if you are out there and you're searching, that these are things that you're taking into consideration. I saw a post the other day where it was a woman who was talking about she was on a date with a high value man. And when the moment that it came out that she had a child, his entire energy just shifted, like he completely went to the left. And, actually started saying some really like off the wall type of stuff, where he more or less let her know, like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep you around, like on some, like, just in case. I can't remember exactly how I articulated it, but he pretty much made it known that, okay, you're not going to be the number one option. And she said, like, up until that point, everything was going great. Everything was going great until it came out that she had a child. And then all of a sudden, his entire energy shifted, and when I read that, I was like, damn, this is really, and now to be clear, I don't even know how legitimate it was, because I was curious, because it wasn't someone sharing someone's story. It was the person sharing it. It was it was actually them. I went back to their page and I saw a couple of other posts where even she admitted that, like, she kind of made certain things up. So I was like, okay, this might just be one of them deep fakes. Right. Like I was saying, like, again, one of the reasons why I love Tequila Tales, that people go out sometimes and they will share this rage bait on social media to get us all up in arms and think that, like, there's really a lot of dudes that's just walking around here on some, I'm a high value man, and, oh, I'm not going to do this now. Are they out here? Yeah, they are. Because I'll be hearing about these situations. And so I do know that, there are some shitty people that exist. But everything that we see on social media, we got to be cautious against not accepting it as truth, and having a healthy level of skepticism, right? Just for our own mental and emotional well-being. It becomes important, especially if you're out in the field right now and you are searching for your person. I think that this becomes very, very important. And this is for men and women, man, because we will literally inform our decisions about how we move in this dating space based on what we're seeing on social media, which makes sense, right? Because you're much more prone to hear about literally 1,000% more stories via social media than you do from direct interaction. Now, me doing Tequila Tales, I get to hear a wide array of various stories over the past decade. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not either coming to these events every month or have a platform that's similar, you got to get it through social media. And in many cases, someone is sharing said story because they believe it's going to get attention, it's going to get engagement. And in most cases, that's where people end, is engagement farming. Oh, this looks salacious, I'm going to share this, right? Like, regardless of whether or not it's true or not. I'm not even saying that everybody knows it's BS. I'm saying that that is not the barometer of whether or not it goes up on someone's platform, right? It's, ooh, this is going viral on this person's page. Let me take this and put it on my page so it can also go viral. And then we look up and it's just like that Cheesecake Factory story where a woman didn't, oh, we're not doing cheesecake dates and da-da-da-da. And that became the rave for 2 weeks. It was everywhere. That woman then got more traction from that story than anything else that she's ever put out. Turns out that story was a complete fabrication. It was a skit. It was a poorly acted skit, right? But it was enough to get people upset. And now even to this day, you got dudes walking around like, yeah, you can't even take these bras to the Cheesecake Factory. And it's like, no, actually you can. Actually you can. And they probably enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Like, now maybe not everybody, right? However, we do need to acknowledge that sometimes this stuff that we see on social media has an opportunity or has a propensity to affect how we show up in our real everyday lives, right? And so, like, it's just something that we got to be cautious about, man. It's something that we got to be cognizant of. I'm not saying that you got to ignore, what you're seeing, because to be very honest, even if it is a fake story, we're all being influenced by the same content, right? You just can't allow that to filter into your day-to-day interactions because you never really know a person's story, right? You don't know why a person makes the decisions that they make. You don't know why they've made the choices or taking the stances or are living the life that they've lived. And until you actually meet someone, that was a question. And I'll end on this. Like, that was one of the questions that I think we will make a topic of discussion in one of the future shows, where I was talking about how, like, in times past, our parents and grandparents, like just the elders, we'll call them, they had a propensity to keep certain topics off the table, right? Like, it was always known, you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics. And it was because they understood that those were contentious topics to talk about, right? And they prioritize civility above everything else. Like, now we want to keep things civil. And so I posed the question to the room, is this a practice that we need to bring back? Would you be in favor in bringing this back? Or do you feel like, no, I kind of want to know a person's, how they're voting and things of that nature? Do you think that defines them? Do you believe that just because a person voted for a particular candidate, that can tell you something that is very important or very profound about that individual? Is it possible that they were just, voting because of, I'm not going to say so, because I do think that your vote does carry consequences. And so I do believe that it is important, but I think it is also something that's rather personal. And so unless you choose to broadcast it, now, if you choose to broadcast it and you walk around, you got the red hat on, okay, that's something different, right? You're trying to make a statement and that inside of that decision, you are being antagonistic, right? And for a reason, you want to get me roused up. And so when you get that reaction, then it's kind of like, all right, well, this is what you asked for. But there are other times where it's like people were feeling this person until they realized who they voted for. And then all of a sudden, everything dried up, the faucet went dry and they moved on, and I was reading about stories like this where, like, people was kind of like feeling someone, went on a couple of dates, things was hot and heavy. And then all of a sudden they realized that they voted for the candidate that they didn't like. And they was like, yeah, and they were very clear about it. And then you had people that was butthurt about that. And it's just like, You know, that's interesting. I can see it from both ways. I, honest to God, can see it from both ways, right? But I pose that question to the room, like, how do you all feel about that? How do you feel about going back to that space where we don't just judge people off of, I don't want to say these small things because it can be very important, but do you really think that just knowing who a person voted for can tell you the totality of their character, right? Like, meaning if they did vote for the candidate that you like, right? Does that mean that they are not potentially a piece of shit, right? Like, because they very well may be. And so you got to be cautious against trying to make very big and broad decisions based off of the one data point, as if we are not a collection of multiple data points, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, what's more important, how a person thinks or how they act, right? Like, do you really care about how a person, like their ideas and how they think about certain ideas, or do you care about like their actions and their actual character? And truth be told, you really cannot tell that from something as simple as just who they voted for, right? And so I challenged the room, and I was curious to know like how people felt. And you know, we didn't necessarily get one solution answer, because truth be told, I think it's different for each person. But I do think that we are living in a world nowadays, man, where it's like, because we share so much in via social media, one, you got to determine what's false and what's real. Like, because we talked about that, like how some people just be lame on social media. I don't know if you ever met that person. They like a fake wannabe troll. You know, they actually cool as hell in real life, but you meet them on social media and you're just like, oh my God, I can't tolerate this person. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you were interested in them and you were considering dating them and you saw certain posts, that would turn you off and you wouldn't even consider them, you know. But it was like, before social media, you didn't have to know about every random thought that coursed through a person's mind. If you met them and you all developed a relationship, you may be more willing to forgive like some random moments where, you know, a person says or does something, you're like, yeah, that's just that little cognitive blind spot where I just, you know, whatever. Girl, that's just George. You know, he liked to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you might be more willing to accept that if you met them another way. But when our primary way of meeting one another typically now is through virtual means, then it's almost like I have to agree with or be attracted to the virtual manifestation of your actual character. And some people are just shitty at marketing themselves, right? Like they just are, right? So like, you know, that's just something that as we move forward, man, we're going to have to figure out how we balance that. How do we balance that to ensure that I'm not welcoming people into my world purely because of something virtual that they said? Because then you could be taking advantage of me, right? Like, you could be manipulating me, you know, presenting a certain image that you know I'll like, and really the real you is something completely different. You know what I'm saying? But then the flip of that is also true, that I might not be a fan of how you present your brand via social media, but in person, man, you're like a great dude. You know what I'm saying? You're actually like one of them salt of the earth, give the shirt off my back, you know, defend people in my presence type of guys, right? And so as we continue to navigate down this road, man, we gotta figure out what that balance looks like, you know, because it's going to be significant, you know, as we move forward. But that being said, you know, a little bit of housekeeping, you know, because it is important for me to let you guys know what's happening here with Tequila Tales. So like, this one is very important, right? Because this is coming fast. And I've told you guys this in times past. And I know that sometimes, you know, we all say stuff or whatever, and, you know, you might not know when things are actually moving, but like, no, 2025, like, this show goes on the road. We've already got the first 5 cities planned out. I'm not going to tell you all what the cities are. But what I will say is that if you are interested in us either coming to your city, if it's not already on the list, or being the first to know when we arrive at your city, you want to join the inner circle. right? So right now in the link, I just put in a link for the inner circle. It's very easy. You know, it's an SMS marketing list. You know what I'm saying? You do not have to worry about me blowing up your inbox. You're only getting messages that pertain to you, right? And so when you join the list, you actually have to stipulate what state you're in. And there's a reason for that. That's one, so I can know we get enough members in that list of that particular city or that particular state. I don't care if it wasn't on the radar, we pulling up, right? So that's A. But then also B, I want to be certain that if I'm in DC, you're not getting random messages because you're in Charlotte. I'm still getting text messages weekly from ATL clubs, right? I ain't been to a club in ATL in years. You know what I mean? I don't even know why I don't take myself off this list. I think I just be imagining in my mind, there's going to be some time I'm going to be there on some random ass Friday and I'll be with a group of dudes. They'll be like, man, what's going on? And I'll be like, you know what? I'm glad you asked. I just got this list from ATL clubs. So whatever, right? But yeah, you definitely want to join the inner circle. If you're not already a part of it, it's very easy. And there's absolutely no drawbacks, right? So boom, there's that. All right, what's the next one? Oh yeah, this is important, right? So I don't know if you guys have paid attention to, my cool ass shirt right here, right? I'm a part of the Block Party, right? So I ain't part of the Republican Party, I ain't part of the Democratic Party, I'm part of the Block Party. And that's a bit of a double entendre, right? Y'all know what the Block Party is. We like to pull up and have a good time and make something out of nothing. So there's that, right? Those of us that like to have a good time. But then also the Block Party is just, man, protecting your peace. That's going to be so important over these next couple of years, right? Like, recognize the time and energy thieves that are inside of your space, and you need to remove them, right? You need to know how to use that block button. Don't sit up and argue with idiots online all day. Like, if you say something, when you see the trolls enter your news feed because they want to attack you, it feels good and you want to sit up, just hit the block. Keep that energy going. However, this particular shirt is a T3T, right? It is a T3T. So, I want you all to know that there are some truths that, you kind of want to wear it with your chest at times, right? Like, listen, some truths hit different when you wear them. So just know that a lot of this content is being pulled directly from active live individuals at our shows, right? Like, I mean, we always saying some dope stuff. So feel free, if you all are looking for gift ideas, might not get it before Christmas, but you can just actually have it shipped to the location that you're going to. It's actually, the shipping is rather swift. So I want you all to definitely do that. But no, you guys, listen, man, if I have not said so already, we are doing the script weekly now, right? So if you're watching this through blackdoctor.org, we're still pulling up 2 times a month with blackdoctor.org every first and third Tuesday, right? Like, we'll be there also. But if you are not subscribed to the Tequila Tales, especially our YouTube channel, you definitely want to be subscribed to our YouTube channel. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and just be more efficient and hit you all with this link in case you all are viewing us somewhere else, because this is important, especially if you're like, you know what, I might want to pull up more often, right? Then yeah, I want you all to be able to do so, because I was told that this 2 times a month wasn't enough. So I've been experimenting with going every Tuesday. So every Tuesday, what are we, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard. That would be 5 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard. So, figure it out. If you in Chicago, that's 7 p.m. If you here in Phoenix, that's 6 p.m. Be certain to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And YouTube is actually where I pull up randomly. So once a week, definitely on that YouTube channel, but also after our live shows, I'm gonna start doing the after set, and then just sometimes randomly, man. Like, if there's just some real important stuff that I got on my spirit and I want to connect with my people, I want us to be able to do so more frequently. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I definitely want you all to do so. And yeah, man, I'm excited about moving forward. Like I said, man, we already got our first 5 cities. And so we'll be announcing those first 5 within the next probably 24, 48 hours. So you'll see where the first 5 cities that we're heading to in 2025. But listen, the other cities is where the people direct us to go. So again, not only I want you to join the inner circle, but have your peoples join the inner circle, because once again, when I see individuals joining it from certain cities, that's going to determine where we pull up next. But it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I appreciate you all for humoring me, for engaging, and yeah, man, with that being said, until the next time.